Baddies is your girl Bevy. Grab your pens and your notepads or your notes in your iPhone and whatever Androids have. Go grab that. This is going to be a very comprehensive video. First, we're going to talk about how doctors who specialize in hair loss, dermatologists, board certified dermatologists who specialize in hair loss, go about diagnosing hair loss, okay? Some of them employ all, some of them use some of the methods. It doesn't matter, but I'm going to go through a lot of methods. And then we're going to talk about your general full blood panel, your blood workup when you have a full physical exam. I'm gonna teach you through the help of reputable sources like Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic, help you understand how to pretty much review your blood tests, etc., your panels, etc., what to look for, what to ask for, right? Sometimes there's other exams that you can ask for when you go to your doctor that you may or may not know about that can help uncover the underlying conditions that may be causing your hair to thin, fall, break, shed, for you to go bald, alopecia, you name it. Insert the problem that you're having, edges. I mean, just insert it in, okay? So this is gonna be in depth. I'm gonna try to make it painless as possible and as entertaining as possible because this is all boring information. But I promise you, this is a game changer. Ain't nobody else talking about this. Ain't nobody else giving y'all tea and giving you game like this. But also nobody's empowering you to read your own exam results to understand, to try to self-diagnose and uncover what may or may not be going on with you. First things first, I eat your brain. Okay, no, that's a bad habit. First things first, please check out the disclaimer. And I'm gonna post it right here real quick. Because what y'all not finna do is say, well, you're not a doctor, you're giving out medical advice. Disclaimer, and it's also in the description box, okay? I am not a medical professional, okay? So please go schedule you an appointment with your primary care doctor, your internist, your family doctor, a board certified dermatologist that specializes in hair, okay? Hair loss and hair treatments, hair loss treatments. All dermatologists are not created equal, okay? They are not all the same. Dermatologists that specialize in hair loss actually have to do, it's almost like a specialization, right? It's like if you go to school for marketing, you have to specialize in social media, specialize in journalism, specialize in public relations, right? And I know these because I was a marketing major. But I'm saying, like, when you are a dermatologist or anything, you need to specialize, right? You want to have a specialty, you want to specialize, you want to niche down. So not all dermatologists specialize in hair loss and hair loss treatment, and hair regeneration. So please, by all means, if you need that, I would make it easy for you and say, I'm gonna put it in the description box, but no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna force you to engage with me. Go down in the description box and ask me for the information. I'll be happy to include that. Okay. All right, so I gotta look at my notes because I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. This is a lot of information. I'm not gonna memorize none of this, and I'm just gonna talk on and on and on. So first things first is let's talk about how dermatologists that specialize in hair loss go about diagnosing hair loss. These are key techniques that they utilize, okay? So number one of the main things is they're gonna do diagnostic tests or diagnostic tests for hair loss, okay? Some of those are just by understanding your medical history. They're gonna ask you a number of questions about hair loss patterns, hair styles that you've been using over time, your family history, and any symptoms that you may or may not be experiencing, okay? So you can say, I'm experiencing a very itchy scalp. You can talk about if your grandmammy lost hair back in the day, if her grandmama, your mama, your mama's mamas all had thinning edges, all had fall out at a certain age, because believe it or not, a lot of things we are genetically predisposed to a lot of things, and you're not doomed, but the best way to combat past behaviors and the history is by understanding it and then knowing what you need to do to combat that, right? And so when I say hair loss patterns, like, are you noticing bald spots in certain parts of your head, like at the crown? This is all gonna help determine or assess what may or may not be going on with you, okay? and they're gonna give you, it's just gonna help assess what's going on. The next thing is you're gonna have physical examinations. And by the way, this is not in any specific order. And also, by the way, not all dermatologists have the same treatment algorithm. We all know what an algorithm is in the day of social media. A treatment algorithm is basically the process that they take to assess, to diagnose, to treat, right? And so some doctors, they may have a go-to way to diagnose something, and I'm gonna go through all of them. And so they may just go through that one go-to. Some people feel that they can eyeball it, they can call it, and they can treat it by just eyeballing. There's no right or wrong. Some ways are more efficient, some ways are more expensive, some ways may cost you more money, may cost your insurance company more money. It just all really, the outcome is what you care about. You want to know that the dermatologist specializes in skin and hair loss and hair regeneration treatment, but you also want to know that the outcome is the ultimate goal, right? You want to know if you're dealing with a dermatologist that is all about, drugs or chemicals versus cosmetic treatments versus someone who is more into the holistic approach, more into the natural approach, the botanical approach to doing things. That doctor may do everything all at once. They may be a good mixture. Some might be all natural. Some might be all medical and all prescription. There's no right or wrong. You have to find the person that best suits you, your outcomes, and the way you want to go about things. Okay, so these are not in no particular order. Another one is physical examination. So there's some doctors that's going to give you a physical scalp evaluation. It's as great as it sounds. All it means is that they're parting your hair and they're looking for any type of patches, any type of patterns of hair loss, like I just mentioned. They're looking for inflammation, they're looking for redness, they're looking for sores, scarring, they're looking for little bumps. They know what they're looking for. These little things that they're looking for is going to help them to identify what type of hair loss you may or may not be experiencing. Okay, and then they're going to assess the extent of like your breakage. Some doctors can look at your hair and see that it's breaking, that it's thinning, that it's dry, that it's brittle. These are all telltale signs, okay? And then there's other tests called simple tests. One is the pull test, and this is basically when they gently, okay, they shouldn't be just ripping hair out your scalp like you're in like back in the day when you was in a fight, but they're just gently, tugging small sections of your hair. They're kind of checking again for brittleness, fragility, so they're tugging different sections of the hair, and they're checking to see if they tug, how much hair fall is going to happen, right? They're looking for a certain X amount number of strands to see how many strands is going to fall out. This is going to prove something. They're also pulling because they want to see if there's a bulb at the tip, right? If that little white bulb comes out at the tip, means that your hair is shedding. There's something happening internally. You could be shedding prematurely. So they're doing these kind of tests, right? So there's the pull test, the tug test, and the card test is evaluating new hair growth using a felt covered card. So they're trying to check. And again, these are medical tools that they're utilizing. It's not something you can do at home to kind of see if there's any new growth, any peach fuzz, anything that's happening, okay? Then there's another doohickey. Again, everyone may or may not use this. It's called the trichometric analysis. And the trichometric analysis, the brand name is the Folliscope, and I'll try to include some pictures of certain images of the Folliscope in here. But it's basically a computerized measurement tool magnifying scalp, and it's basically magnifying your scalp and hair by like 100 times, right? By 100x. What it's doing is it's giving them a snapshot. So it's like being able to, it's a magnifying glass lens. It's like being able to look at your follicle. They're able to look at your scalp. They're able to see the hair coverage on your scalp. They're able to see what's going on in 3D, okay? In deep 3D. So you can just eyeball all you want. This Folliscope or trichometric analysis is really going deep, looking at the follicles, the diameter of the follicles, the hair shaft. I mean, it's just exposing all your dirty laundry because they're trying to get to the bottom of if there's follicle miniaturization, the diameter size of your follicle. Does the follicle look alive and well, or is the follicle dead? Is it scarring, right? And I've talked about many other videos what can cause scarring to your follicles, follicle death, etc. So I'm not going into that here, okay? And there's also a fungal culture. And this is a lab test to confirm if you have any scalp conditions, if you have ringworms on your scalp, if you have, seborrheic dermatitis, which is yeast on your scalp, which is essentially a yeast infection on your scalp, if you have overgrowth of bacteria on your scalp. So this is, it's overall, it's a fungal culture. It's what it is, right? The same way you would have a fungal culture in other parts, ladies, you know, it's a fungal culture for your scalp to see if you are definitely positive for a yeast infection on your scalp, okay? Because these things like yeast infection, seborrheic dermatitis, and tinea, which is ringworm, okay, these things can also lead to some form of hair loss, even if it's mild hair loss, even if it's temporary hair loss, but just keep that in mind. Now, the big one that I know of personally, because this is how I was diagnosed with androgenetic alopecia or androgenic alopecia, whichever one, female pattern hair loss or male pattern hair loss, right, is the scalp biopsy, aka the punch biopsy, where it's a little invasive, right? They're punching a piece of your scalp. By punching, it's a tool that punches. It creates a laceration. It cuts out, it carves out a piece of your scalp, and it is sent over to a lab to be tested, looked under a microscope, and checked to see if what's going on, right? It can go really deep, right? Deeper than a 3D image, and it also can check again for follicle miniaturization. It can check for a lot of different things that may be happening under the microscope, and it can tell you how often or at what speed, at what rate your follicles are shrinking or starting to close up or starting to scar. It is invasive. It can be painful for some people. It's not for others. Everyone has a different technique of how they do it. They stitch you back up. It's like any other biopsy. They stitch you back up. You have some bleeding for a couple of days, and such and such. You have to treat it, care for it. There are some drawbacks, right? You can have infection because it's an open sore on your scalp. So you have to be careful what kind of products you put in your hair for a little while. You have to lay low and just kind of let things go. But this is how, like I said, the small tissue is taken from your scalp and sent for testing, and it's going to give you deep analysis of what's going on with the follicle and with the skin on the scalp. And so this is how I personally was diagnosed with androgenetic alopecia. So this is the scalp biopsy. It is one of the most common ways. I don't remember if it was covered by my insurance. I don't believe so. I think this was something that I paid for out of pocket, but do not quote me. It's been a while. And hair loss is just still not one of those things that's deemed, you're still kind of considered cosmetic in the medical world in most aspects. But I will say that it can be, and possibly is, one of the most accurate. So a lot of dermatologists may opt for this one if they're not already eyeballing and they have a lot of experience and they can kind of just name it and claim it based on your medical history and based on eyeballing, right? But this one again is a little more invasive and it may cost you some money out of pocket. Now, the other thing, and this is where, and if you go back and listen to my hair loss or hair regrowth story or whatever I titled it, I don't even know, like, sometimes I just gotta change the titles for this SEO crap. My fellow YouTubers, you know what I'm talking about. But whatever it's titled, I will try to link it down in the description box below where I talk about my hair loss and hair regrowth story. The bottom line is, another thing that I spoke about was you kind of have to create this dream team around you. Your dream team should comprise of your primary care physician or an internist, should comprise of an endocrinologist and a gynecologist, and in my case also your dermatologist, right? So these were the 4 people in my dream team because we were trying to get down to the bottom of what was going on with my hormones, what was going on with me as a woman, you know, PCOS, you know. Oh, and last, this one came in later on, a GI doctor, a gastroenterologist something, okay? I'm not gastro, okay? A gastro. I'm not going to even embarrass myself today. A GI. We had to check my gut health, see if there was any gut disorders, any kind of IBS, IBD problems, any issues that could have been causing malabsorption or causing leakage into the bloodstream, toxins to enter the bloodstream, not allowing my follicles to really get the nutrients that it deserved and needed. There was so many different things going on. Like I always say, I had a 4 for 4. Like if there's 1 or 2 causes for hair loss, or if there was 5 or 6 or 7, I kind of had all of them, okay? And so I formulated this dream team and they cross-communicated with each other, okay? And are all doctors this amazing? No, you have to ask for what you want. You have to be straightforward with the doctor. That's why, hence this video, because I'm trying to empower my baddie to know what to ask for. Because you can go to a doctor and they'll just give you a general blood panel, right? A general blood panel. And you're just like, okay, but you don't know. No. I want this test. I want that. I want this. I want that. I want this. I want that. You're going to be specific. You're going to say, oh, if you need a referral, if your insurance requires a referral to see a specialist, you're going to say, I want to see an endo. I want to see a GI. I want to see a dermatologist. And I want to see a gyno. I want to see all these people. Can you print out my results? Because I'm going to take it to the person. If they don't have like an internal system that they can, you know, zap the information over to the next doctor, then you're going to ask for a printout. And you're gonna take the printout of all your results and you're gonna take it to the next doctor. So trust and believe me, it's not that these doctors were just so amazing in New York. And don't get me wrong, I've kissed a lot of frogs. That's why I'm where I'm at today and I know what I'm looking for. I'm empowered when it comes to my health and wellness. So you can't really play me like that, but it took time. But I'm trying to help accelerate your growth to get you to that point to where you can say, this is what I need. This is what I need you to look at. I need you to look into all these things for me, evaluate all this stuff that may seem like it's not associated with hair loss, but it is somehow in some roundabout way contributing towards this hair loss problem that I'm having, okay? So that was a quick sidebar. I went up on a tangent, but I really wanted to let you know this is the reason why you're watching this video, because it's empowering you to know what to ask for. But anyway, going back to my story, I had a dream team that worked together, communicated together to find out the best treatment regimen for me overall that was gonna treat my underlying conditions first, then treat the hair loss, and then help me manage the hair loss. And I've been managing my hair loss ever since. Did I heal? Like, am I delivered? Am I delivered from androgenetic alopecia? Absolutely not. It's an uphill battle. Some months, some weeks, some days. Everything can be better than others, but I learned my body. I understand what my hair, what my skin is telling me. And when it's saying something, I don't wait till it's screaming. I see small little things and I run to the, I'm like, yo, what's good? Doc, what's good? Let's follow up, because she's starting to be thin around here. I like to get thin around my edges. That's how I start to say, I like to get thin. It's like, hold on now. All my edges is running away from my face. Somehow, and it's not because my breath stinks, somehow there's something that's offending my edges right now, something happening internally. What's good? Okay? Anyway, so the blood test, okay? We all know when we take our full physical, we take a blood test. It's gonna check for underlying medical conditions, deficiencies, or imbalances. Obviously, primary examples, the most common examples that we know are the iron deficiency test and the ferritin test and thyroid disease, right? Because iron deficiency obviously contributes, I talk about it all over this channel, I'm not gonna go into the details of that, contributes towards hair loss. And so does thyroid disease, whether it's hyperthyroidism or hypothyroidism. I believe I have a video on that as well. Go check that out, okay? And I'm gonna go a little later in this video about the type of blood test that you're gonna specifically look for, what kind of results, how to read those results, right? And what to ask for, because not all of them are included in the basic or the generic, the kind of like the standard blood panel. I'm trying to think of the term, but you guys know what I mean, like the regular schmegula blood test when you do your annual. Not all of the tests are included in that, so you want to specifically ask your doctor to request these tests. Okay, there's photography, which is something I recommend to all my baddies. If you're not doing it, start getting in the habit of taking pictures of your hair. Same way you take progress of your weight loss. If you're in a weight loss journey and you want to see the difference from A to B, you know, you can't fool the eyes. At the end of the day, you can look at a picture from last month and a picture from this month and see the difference, right? No, it's not a folliscope. You're not going to be able to look at the difference under a microscope, but you can look at your scalp. You can look at patterns. You can take pictures in different angles and kind of just see your progress, especially if you're proactively doing things to grow your hair. Stop leaving it up to guessing, right? You want to see the density of your hair. I could tell the difference when my iron was deficient and my ferritin stores were low. You could see right through my hair like one-ply toilet paper. You could literally see right through it. My edges were jagged. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know, you can tell when you have, I call it snaggletooth hair when basically your hair has like the little fairy knots in it, and it's thin and it's brittle and it's limp. You can see that, and you can see more density. You can see it. So I highly recommend you guys start taking photos. But if you have a good doctor that is working with you over time, they're gonna have this in their chart. They're gonna keep pictures of you, of your progress in their chart, okay? So that's that. So they're comparing photos during different appointments because they wanna see the before and after, especially once they start implementing a treatment plan, a hair growth plan, a hair growth regimen. They wanna see the difference from baseline and after 3 months, after 6 months, after 9 months. Is this working? You get what I'm saying? So those are the ways that doctors are going to, dermatologists specifically, are going to diagnose hair loss or a type of hair loss. These are the different. Some of them employ all of these, some of them utilize some of these, some of them only use one or the other. It doesn't matter. The outcome is what matters, okay? But now let's dig in a little bit deeper into the blood tests and how to read these blood tests, okay? And how to understand them so that you're empowered. I want to empower you, like I just said, to be able to read them and I kind of identify immediately something's wrong, right? So you can make the phone calls. Don't wait for a doctor to proactively call you. Don't wait for a busy office with underpaid staff, a whole lot of people, they all tired, it's summer, nobody wants to be there. You know what I'm saying? And don't wait for them to call you and be like, oh, we saw these numbers. Don't wait for their computer system to be like, toot, 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 toot. No, you get your numbers, you be like, doc, I need a follow-up appointment immediately because yeah, these numbers ain't mathing. Okay, these numbers ain't numbering, and I need to come in because this is what's up. So this is what this is for. Okay, now key blood tests for diagnosing your hair loss, or for, you know, that results in helping you interpreting what type of hair loss, not diagnosing hair loss, let me take that back, helping you interpret what may be causing hair loss. Okay, that's better. I gotta be careful with my words here. Okay, there's the hemoglobin, right? The red blood cell count, right? I'm gonna include right here the normal range for men and women. All right, take a look at it, screenshot it, take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. Okay, take a whole bunch of screenshots and then put them together in your notepad and boom, read it whenever you need to read it, okay? Go ahead and order you some tests. You can get you the tests online. I'll probably leave some links below. You can do the at-home tests. If you don't want to wait to get an appointment in the next month or 2 weeks to go see a doctor, pay whatever, a couple dollars and do the at-home test so that you can figure out what's going on with you, all right? And then take your results to your doctor. That way, by the time you get there, you already did the test or you know how to read it yourself. And now we can start to, you can try to kind of Frankenstein and put together, you know what I'm saying? Like try to freestyle a little plan for yourself until you get to the doctor, okay? But be careful, because if you are on other medications, be careful. That's all I'm gonna say, okay? Read the disclaimer, the medical disclaimer, okay? All right, now, lower than normal results can indicate, when it comes to the hemoglobin test, can indicate anemia, can indicate iron deficiency, and of course, like I just mentioned, these things contribute to hair loss, okay? Also, vitamin B12 deficiency, folate deficiency, bleeding, cancers affecting bone marrow, kidney, liver disease, hypothyroidism, all of this stuff can be results of low hemoglobin, okay? Of course, you don't want to just be like, oh, my hemoglobin is low, I'm anemic. No, it could be something real bad, but I'm just saying, these are the ranges you want to be in, okay? And then, of course, higher than normal results can be dehydration. It could be, you know, it can cause, dehydration, vomiting, burnout, a whole bunch of things. So just be on the lookout for your hemoglobin levels. Make sure this is where they are. Now, the next one is the CBC, or the complete blood count, all right? Now, the red blood cell count, this is the normal range that you want your red blood cell count to be at for men and for women, okay? Obviously, lower than normal counts can indicate anemia. Higher than normal counts can suggest some kind of heart disease, God forbid, blood cancers, whatever. Of course, not to say whatever. What I mean is take all of this with a grain of salt, okay? Doesn't mean that you have any of that if you're out of the range. That's why you need a doctor to interpret these results for you, to confirm these results for you. You can interpret them, but let them confirm, because it's like, it's no different from going to WebMD and Googling, a rash that you have, on your chest that could be hives from some kind of contact with something outside, and now you think you got cancer because you see a rash. That's not what's going on, okay? So I don't want to scare you guys. Now, hold on. So now with the white blood blood count, okay? Because white blood counts are good for helping you fight off infection, you know, viral infections, bacterial infections, helping you heal. The normal range is gonna be right here. This is the normal range. Just take the screenshot. And low counts, okay, extremely low counts can indicate an autoimmune disorder and other problems, right, to name a few. But obviously autoimmune disorders are directly linked to hair loss, especially because hair loss is an inflammatory process or symptom itself. And so having an autoimmune disorder can automatically trigger hair loss, right? Especially depending on the type of autoimmune disorder that you may or may not have. So you want to be within this normal range. High counts can commonly indicate infection, inflammation, immune system disorders. So high counts basically could just mean that you have a viral infection. Like, you know, you could have had COVID, you could have the flu, you could have a cold. It could mean that you have an infection, because what happens is when your counts get really high, it means that there's a swarm of white blood cells that are just coming through to help heal you, help fight off whatever you might be having. So you can literally just have an infection. Your lymph nodes also help you to kind of determine if there's something going on, right? If there's some kind of inflammatory process happening internally, right? These are little cues that you want to look out for. So high white blood count could simply mean at that moment it's only temporary. It could mean that you might have a slight little viral infection, a cold or something, flu, whatever. So don't get alarmed. Sorry, I'm sitting on my leg and it's getting what's the word? It's falling asleep. My bad, baddies. I thought it was cute trying to sit on my leg. What was I doing? Anyway, but you want to look, again, you see these things, they're not cause for alarm, they're cause for you to just pick up the phone and schedule an appointment. Okay, so you also want to look at your platelet counts. Now, the normal range I'm gonna include here, right? Now, I'm gonna include here, this is for men, for women. And then, of course, if you're outside of that range, you want to pick up the phone and call your doctor, okay? Like I said about iron and ferritin, just to kind of dive in a little deeper into that, these are the normal ranges that you want to look at for iron and ferritin, okay? Just giving you some time to go ahead and screenshot that. And of course, you want to make sure that you don't have low iron or ferritin stores, because obviously these things contribute directly to hair loss. In this video, I'm not going deep into how, why, when, where, what. I do that in so many other videos, but these are the things that I want you guys to look at. Look at the thyroid function test, also called the thyroid stimulating hormone that they look at, the TSH. Now, this may or may not be included in the generic panel. If it's not, you can ask for a TSH. These are the normal ranges that you want to look at, okay? You want to look at these normal ranges. Now, this is the normal range for the TSH. This is the range for the T3. This is the range for the T4. And overall, abnormal levels, meaning outside of the range, can indicate some kind of thyroid disorder. What kind? Who knows? You need to confirm with a doctor, okay? So keep that in mind. Next is the vitamin B12. We talked about this. B12 is extremely important, right? Especially for hair growth, skin, and all of that good stuff. This is the normal range for vitamin B12. If you are low in vitamin B12, it can contribute to hair loss and other health issues, okay? Make a phone call to your doctor, okay? The A1C test. I know you're like, what in the world does A1C have to do with hair loss, baby? Well, absolutely it does, because insulin resistance and diabetes has a correlation with hair loss. It has a correlation with a lot of things that's dysfunctioning in your overall health and wellness. And do not think for a second that it does not affect your hair growth and hair loss in any way. So keep that in mind. Your A1C, that insulin resistance, can also contribute to the PCOS. Insert your gynecologist now, right? So PCOS has a lot of symptoms, which also include hair loss, right? Hair thinning across that. It can increase your androgen levels, right? It can increase so many levels that is causing your hair to completely go thin all across the board. So yes, you want to look at your A1C, right? And if you don't look at it for hair loss, child, you want to look at it just because, right? This is important to look at it. So this is the normal range for individuals without diabetes, okay? Now, of course, elevated levels indicate poor blood sugar, which has a ton of complications that's way more important than hair loss, but hair loss is also included in that, okay? And no is not a reach, okay? Next one is the DHEAS test. The normal range, it varies. It depends on age and gender. Abnormal levels can indicate adrenal disorders or hormonal imbalance. This one is really important when you're thinking about things like PCOS, when there's an overproduction of testosterone, because when there's an overproduction in testosterone, and I'm speaking to my baddies for a minute, my female baddies, my women baddies, I'm talking to you for a second, because you have an overproduction of testosterone, then that testosterone, because of I can't even think of it right now, because of the it's like it's an enzyme that converts it to DHT. What's happening is it's causing your hair to thin over time. And when I say over time, it could be very quickly for some people, it could be a long time for others, but it's causing your hair to thin because it's essentially the DHT is responsible for follicle death, for follicular death. It's choking the life out of your follicles. I'm gonna tell you the name of the enzyme, because I'm not gonna sit here. 5-alpha reductase. 5-alpha reductase. So it's an enzyme basically that converts testosterone to DHT, and that DHT, right, is basically wreaking havoc in your body. It has other effects, but on your hair specifically, the main effect is that it specifically targets your follicles to choke the living crap out of them, the life out of them. So your follicle is just being, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Anyway, I'm looking at my time. I'm trying to speed this up. I might have to break this up, y'all, into 2 videos because it's a lot of information. But anyway, that is also something you want to look for, the DHEAS test. Also, ANA test. Positive results indicate the presence of anti-nuclear antibodies, often associated with autoimmune diseases. All it is, the ANA test, is checking for autoimmune diseases. So it's a very granular test that is checking for autoimmune diseases, which we know contributes specifically to hair loss. All right, it's very simple. And many autoimmune diseases can attack the actual hair follicle, right? And so we want to keep in mind that. There's also the C-reactive protein test, or the CRP. These are the results right here. Now, this basically, in general, this is looking at inflammation. This is considering inflammation. If this is high, if the levels are high in the CRP test, this is a dead giveaway. This is telling you in plain English that there's a lot of inflammation in your body, and hands down, you're gonna experience hair loss. You're gonna experience hair loss because hair loss is directly linked to inflammation in the body. It is an inflammatory response. So I just want you to know that's a good one to ask for. So I said a lot. I try to speed it up at the end, but the point is to recap class, right? Baddies, okay? And, and gents and whoever, and affiliates and whoever, everybody who wants to be a part of it. There's ways to diagnose hair loss specifically, and there's ways to read your blood tests and other tests to kind of interpret what may be going on below the surface, but below the hair and the scalp surface, to find out how your overall health and wellness can correlate with you having hair loss. If you can identify what deficiencies you have, what abnormalities, dysfunctionalities, and different things you have going on in your body, you can kind of put a treatment regimen together. You can work with your dream team, like I mentioned before, to put together a growth plan to get your hair from thin to thick, to get you where you need to be. I'm not creating this video because I have nothing better to do. Oh, by the way, I do have some micro links in, so forgive me, but what I'm trying to point out is the fullness, and those of you who've been watching my videos, you can see the visible difference in my hair from the beginning and as we continue to journey together, right? As we pedal forward, and drive forward to drive results, my hair is just constantly getting thicker and healthier and stronger, fuller and longer. So you can accomplish these same things. This is what I specifically did. I didn't just go out and buy a whole bunch of products, products, $100 million on, I'm exaggerating, but you know how I do. $100 million on products, on cosmetic procedures, on this and this and that. I allowed a dermatologist and along with my dream team to put together a customized hair growth plan specific for me, my problems, my underlying conditions. I treated the problem that was happening, the problems going on internally, and hence everything that I do talk to you guys about, products and treatments and foods and ingredients, they all can thrive. They all can work because I'm giving them a blank canvas, not a cup with holes in it that's just gonna keep leaking out, because it's gonna work for you. Anyway, this was a little bit of a longer video, but it made sense why it was so long. Comment down below if this information was helpful. If you feel like, you know what, I can put all this little stuff together and really start to read my own stuff. I'm going to include genetic testing kits that you can order if you want to go online and you're like me, you're like, I ain't waiting on no thing. I'm just gonna go ahead and start taking these exams because she wants to know what's up because she's not happy with what's going on with her head. And here we go. We could take it from there. I'm always going to recommend that you follow up with a doctor, that you confirm your interpretations with the doctor, and take everything I say with a grain of salt, right? I don't want nobody coming for me. Anyway, baddies, subscribe. Y'all know what to do. Y'all know what to do. Bye.